Vayeshev Yaakov be'eret Megurei Aviv be'eret Canaan. So Yaakov is dwelling in the Eretz Megurei Aviv, and that's the Midrashim talk about Megurei. What's the Lashon Megurei? Lashon from a Lashon Ger. That I guess Avraham, Yitzchak, and we're all involved in getting people. I guess it wasn't Geras in the classical sense. We didn't have that Taman Torah. But they started spreading, Avram started spreading ethical monotheism, and the Bereshis says it's the land of Megurei Aviv, all the converts, so to speak, of their father. And there's a famous Chazal, Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz Megurei Vayeshev, that Bikesh Yaakov leishev b'shalva, that Yaakov wanted to now dwell in peace. That's it, he wanted to retire. The golf course, Shalom Village, he wanted to live it up, get everything he has. And then, the Medrash says, and because of that, the whole incident continued as well with Mechiras Yosef. He figured he's gone through a lot, he's gone through love and Esav, now it's time to relax. And now the incident with Mechiras Yosef. So, it seems that Chazal find criticism with Yaakov. There's one Medrash that actually says, Amar HaSatan, it's the Satan trying to get God upset at Yaakov. Really, God it wasn't. But the one we have is Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is steaming. What do you want? Tzadikim get to schar and Olam Haba. You want to get Olam Hazel also? Like you have to work for it. So that's the Pshuto. There's a famous pshat from Rav Moshe Feinstein. Like, what do you mean? It wasn't like he wanted to go on the golf course and he wanted to retire. I'm sure Yaakov wanted to continue his spiritual needs as well. So Rav Moshe writes, more like Derek Drush, Derek Musser, that he made the mistake. He's okay, now my kids are grown up, the mitzvah of chinuch is over. Now I could sit and learn, I could go back to the kollel or whatever Yaakov was doing at that time. He thought there was a time where, that's it, I finished my responsibilities for my children, etc., and now it's time. So Chazal telling us, no, chinuch is never over. Whether it's 3 months, 2 months, 3 years, or they're 50, it doesn't make a difference. Chinuch goes on forever, and that's how Moshe learns that Yaakov, made the more Derek Drush. That's why he was Bikesh Leishev B'Shalva. But the one I want to focus on is Rav Yonis in Eipshitz. He has many svarim, but the Tiferes Yonasan, I believe, is the running commentary on Chumash. The Yoris Drash is more like sermons, drushes, and he has a lot of different svarim. But the one on Chumash is the Tiferes Yonasan. So he says a beautiful pshat here. What's the pshat by Vayeshev? What do you mean Yaakov wanted to, and what's wrong with it? He didn't want to, he wanted to spend his time focusing on his spiritual needs. What's wrong with moving into the kollel or whatever he was doing? So Rabbi Times explains as follows, that why did Yaakov want to leishev b'shalva? What, he just woke up one day and said, let me retire? So no, because what happened, we know the brachas he got from Yitzchak, v'yital v'metal hashamayim v'shmani haaretz, he's going to get the good life, he's going to get the blessings were going to be makuyim, and he was able to live comfortably, and then he could focus on his spiritual existence. So he said, okay, now that I got the brachas, now I'm finished with Lava and Esav, now finally Vayeshev Yaakov. So that's what he thought. That's why I think the Zohar he quotes. So so in theory that would be okay. The problem is, so what happened right after? It says the famous pasuk where Yisrael Ahav es Yosef mikol banav ki ben zukunim ulo v'asalo ksonis pasim. So he, on his level, but the Gemara already in Tosas and Shabbos just elaborates that there is part of it says Mechiras Yosef was one of the causes for Yitzias Mitzrayim, for Golas Mitzrayim. So it's not. So Chazal find fault with Yaakov on that level for playing favorites. That you never should play favorites with your kids. That's why, let's say on the Detroit Shabbat, I wasn't going to pick which son was going to get to room with me. I left that to other people. I wasn't going to play favorites. With the parsha coming up, I couldn't do that. So he gave him the multicolor coat. I think there was the movie Joseph or the play Technicolor. That's a whole different pshat. What's the pshat in the multicolored? That's a separate share in terms of interesting Meshach Chachma. Others in terms of what the pshat is there, the Shem Yishmuel. But it says Yisrael Ahav es Yosef Mikol Banav. So why did he? First of all, as the Raga Shabbat others point out, what's the difference when the Torah says? We know when it went from Avram to Abraham, it stayed. Once he changed to Abraham, that was it. But we find by Yaakov and Yisrael, he goes back and forth. The number one is, they point out, when he was Abraham, he was a guy. When he converted, he changed his name. That's a separate shaila, but most Goyim changed the name. That's a question whether you have to change the name or not, or the shaila comes, the discussion comes up in Ruth. Was Ruth her name? Well, she was a Goya, or that's the whole discussion in terms of that, and does a ger say Shelo Asani Guy in the Bereshis Hashachar, different issues like that. But so Avram, so he was named as a guy. Now he's a Jew. He keeps Avram, but Yaakov was Jewish. Whatever. Again, assuming the others had the status of Jews, Kodem in Torah. So what's the difference between Yaakov and Yosef? So the Ragachav others point out Yaakov, it says the father. He's the father. It's a biological father. Yisrael, he's acting as the father of Klal Yisrael. So Yisrael Ahav es Yosef. It's not Yaakov playing favorites but he realized, he saw that Yosef was the one who was going to be the one to be the next leader of Klal Yisrael, and that's why he had a favor Yosef, not because he liked Joseph better or not. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But the point is, he realized Yosef was the person who had to take over. So it says Yisrael Ahav es Yosef, but nevertheless, even that, Chazal find fault with Yaakov playing. You have to be more sensitive and more careful that the kids don't take it the wrong way. So why did he favor Yosef? Because he realized Yosef was really supposed to be the Bechor. In other words, that really he wanted to marry Rachel, and the whole switcheroo. So Reuben was the Bechor. So Reuben was the Bechor in Maisa, but Yosef was the Bechor in Machshava, and therefore he treated Yosef as the Bechor because he knew that was supposed to be the one. So comes along Rabbi Yonasan and says, that's the pshat here. So why did Vayeshev Yaakov, Bikesh Yaakov Leishev Bashalva? Because why? Because he thought the brachas were Makuyim. But really, if you go, so which one? Are we going Basa Maisi or going Basa Makshava? If you go Basa Maisa, the brachas belong to Esav. You fooled Yitzchak, with all the hope shot he was allowed to with Rivka. But the bottom line is, if you're going by Maisa, the brachas belong to Esav, not you. So if you're going by Maisa, so how could Yisrael Ahav es Yosef? How could you then start favoring Yosef? Yosef's only the Bechor b'Machshava, Ruvain. So therefore, that's why he was criticized. You have to be consistent. You're going Basa Maisa, you're going Basa Machshava. And what do we see? The fact that Chazal criticized him is, what do you have to go by? They criticized him what? For he was okay for Yeshev Bashalva because you go by Maisa. But they criticized him, but then you can't favor Yosef, and you can't go by Machshava. So we see a powerful lesson that and we discussed it at different times, that the power of Machshava. So many people have Rabos Machshavas Belevish. Many have good thoughts, and I think there's a Chazal that says good thoughts are the gateway to Gehenna. That's where they start. As they say, like today, you only get in trouble when you say the truth. There is truth to that. But the issue when it comes to Machshava, so many people have good thoughts. You know what? I should go pay a Shiva call. I should go visit someone in the hospital. I should come to the shir. I should go learn. I should go daven. I should go to minyan today. Whatever the thoughts are. So we live in the Olam Hazeh is the Olam Asiyah. It's the time for doing that. Olam Haba, you'll be rewarded for your thoughts. But we see from the Maisa here, and that's what Yonasan Eibschitz points out, that we live in the Olam Hasiyah. It's not enough to think about it, but you have to actually do it. And that's what we see throughout. There's a whole separate share we'll get into, maybe when we make distinctions between Ben Adam Lamakom, Ben Adam Lamakom, but the pshat here is that the focus is on the Asiyah. In fact, and to tie it into Chanukah, That's the famous Avnei Nezer. The Avnei Nezer points out that we know we have an interesting halacha by Ner Chanukah, different than by other mitzvahs. Ner Chanukah, the Rambam writes, Chaviva Miyod, and you have to sell, the uneven has to sell the clothes off him in order to get money for Ner Chanukah. And the Maggid Mishnah, the Lechem Mishnah quotes, where's the Rambam? We get it from the Mishnah Arvei Psachim that we see by wine, that a person has to sell for Arba Koses, you have to go ahead and sell your clothing, and he has to go everything in order to do the mitzvah. So the question is, why is Ner Chanukah singled out? By lulav, we don't say that halacha. Lulav is a mitzvah min Torah. Why not sell your clothes to fulfill the mitzvah of lulav? Why not sell your clothes to sit in the sukkah? Tefillin, those are all biblical mitzvahs. Chanukah is a pure derabanan. Why this special halacha of Chaviva Miyod by Chanukah? So Rav Shechter always says over from the Rav that because since we went ahead and we did something we didn't have to do, we could have used tamei oil because Tuma Hutra B'Tzibor, and we didn't have to wait around for shit. But since we went above what we had to do, so God also treats us favorably here. But the Avnei Nezer says that no, because there's an element of Chanukah that's called Persumei Nisa. That by 3 mitzvahs, Kriyas HaMegillah, Daled Kosos, and Ner Chanukah, there's a special mitzvah of Persumei Nisa. And he said, according to the Rambam, that's why you have to Ad Shaticha Regel Ben Ashuk, that's it. If you missed the Mizman HaGemara, you can no longer do the mitzvah. You can't separate Persumei Nisa from the mitzvah. In fact, that's why the Rav Yaakov Emdin says, normally brachas are a ma'akev when it comes to the mitzvahs, but by Ner Chanukah it is, because the whole essence, when you do the mitzvah, it has to show Ner Chanukah and publicize the miracle and show everyone why we're celebrating Chanukah, the whole reason behind it. So the Avnei Nezer writes, so let's say and there's I don't have time to elaborate now, but there's a whole Meshach Chachma about it as well, on onus, that the bottom line, if let's say I don't do the lulav, I don't do the tefillin, I'm onus, okay, so I'm not going to get punished, and there's no onus. But the bottom line is, let's say I didn't do Ner Chanukah. It's true, you're not going to get punished for doing Ner Chanukah, but bottom line is, you didn't do Persumei Nisa. I think as Rav Chaim used to always say, that you could, and the person can have all the excuses in the world, and we know there are unlimited excuses why I can't learn, why I can't be a David, why I can't do this. And they're all good reasons. But bottom line, you can have 100 good reasons why I didn't learn this week. There might be good reasons, but Nebuch is still an Am Haaretz. It's not going to. The fact you have good reason doesn't make you know anything, and that's what they say by Yaakov. Yaakov, 22 years he was punished for not keeping Kibbutz Avim, but he had the best reasons in the world. Well, he was in Shem Aver. He had to do things. He had to marry his wives. It's true, but the bottom line is, you didn't do Kibbutz Avim, and so ultimately, it's the consequence of not something that you're going to get punished anyway. That's what the Avnei Nezer says. You might have all the good reasons. I didn't have enough money, I didn't do that, but bottom line is, if you don't do Persumei Nisa. And that's the Yisod here of Yonas and Eipshitz. That was the mistake, Yaakov. There's nothing wrong with Bikesh B'Shalva, but then we see, we live in the Olam HaMaisi, he was right on that. But then by favoring Yosef, he was only a B'chol B'Machshava, and that, as the Gemara said, was the beginning of Mechiras Yosef, was the beginning of the Golus Mitzrayim. And therefore we have to be very careful that we remember, in this world we have to focus on deeds, not so much on, of course we have to have good machshavas also, but ultimately we have to, as the Gemara says, even if you want to assume Talmud is greater than Maisa, but the Gemara says, but it's only because Talmud may be Lidei Maisa. Because Talmud leads to the Maisa, we have to learn in order to know what to do.